good afternoon all. Now coming back to the spices, we all know spices are the important crop and it comes under horticulture category of our total crops, and the spices. India is known as a home of spices. We are the major producer, exporter of almost all the spices, and we also know that out of the total categorization of spices, there are 109 spices, in which about 63 are cultivated in the country. And all these are export-oriented commodity, and because of that itself, it comes under the purview of Spices Board of India. That is another organization under Ministry of Industry and Commerce. Morning, I think Ramashri Madam would have discussed about it. Now coming to our organization like Indian Institute of Spices Research, we are an R&D organization under Ministry of Agriculture, and our angle at which we do is on all the research-oriented activities in which spices should grow. And coming to this itself now, myself under post-harvest technology, processing and entrepreneurship, we are also having an unit here, and we are catering to the major spices. Categorization of spices, all that I think morning we would have discussed, and audience will be completely aware of that. But then IASR, what we are doing on entrepreneurship is that we have a good incubation facility for hand-holding entrepreneurs on major spices. It is like, we don't have all the spices here. The major spices like black pepper, ginger, turmeric, nutmeg, clove, cinnamon, these are all the spices which we are catering to, and we have a regional organized station, Indian Institute of Spices Research regional station at Appangala. It is at Coorg, that is in Karnataka. So there we have a station exclusively for cardamom, and we have set up a processing facility because that region is also known for black pepper apart from cardamom. And there also we have number of entrepreneurs who visit that center to get the first-hand information of the crops of cardamom, black pepper. Now coming to the facilities and other things available here, we have the incubation facilities established for black pepper, that is cleaning, grading. Then value-added crops like value-added product, mainly it is white pepper production. It's all on a pilot plant basis we have, and a curry powder facility. And later on, the latest in this list is at our main station here, that is, we have an incubation facility for value-added products from nutmeg rind, which is otherwise considered as a waste or rejected. And then we have for ginger and all the related crops. So this is in nutshell about the background. Now coming to the importance of spices on a national scenario and from an entrepreneurship scenario, what we have to take into consideration. 3 crops, I think today's discussion is on ginger, turmeric, and on chilies. So the major issues as an entrepreneur or as a facilitator for entrepreneurship, what we face here in all these crops, there are certain issues and certain positives also. So the thing is now coming to the first and foremost, like turmeric. Turmeric across the country, almost all the states are going in for processing of turmeric, and generally we say we have to go for curing of turmeric, and then we have to go for drying and other things like packaging, polishing, and all the other things. All these are being followed. I'm not going to elaborate in detail. Now coming to the next stage of value addition in turmeric is the oleoresin extraction and curcumin. When we talk about turmeric itself, we people generally, because just now I am just skipped into from another entrepreneurship lecture by Government of Kerala. I'm just coming. So discussion was on curcumin and curcumin extraction plant. There was it's a higher end of value addition, and it is a scale not at a medium level entrepreneurship. It is at a higher level of entrepreneurship, and for this what we have to consider is the varieties which are good in having high curcumin content, because this process involves separation using solvent, getting oleoresin, and then washing off oleoresin, then allowing it to, some aging is required so that the crystals of curcumin will crystallize and then separate it out using washing and other things. So this is a potential area. It's not, I cannot tell everybody should venture, but then because it is a turmeric growing belt and product, people may have in their mind, like, what is this curcumin? So curcumin extraction, we need varieties which is high in curcumin. That is generally what people here, the industry people ask is varieties which is having 6% and above of curcumin. So generally what we see for this Erode and Salem varieties, these are the two varieties which are very common in Tamil Nadu, known for its culinary application and for its color, golden yellow color. That is what we prefer for powder making. But then when we go for an oleoresin extraction plant, we need varieties which have high curcumin content. That is preferably above 6%. That is what generally people, industry ask here. So those varieties can be preferred, and it is by the process. I'm not elaborating the process, but then it is by the solvent extraction process and repeated washing, we are separating the crystals. So this is one area which we can think of. Another thing is what now I told, from variety to variety, there is variation. So this is what our strength is from ICR, Indian Institute of Spices Research. We tell that for end use, these are the varieties good for. So when we are as a processor, we cannot take turmeric as such, like, just from like a bulk and then tell we are going for that, or we are like for powdering, or we are going for oleoresin. But we should know that which variety is suitable for the purpose, for what reason, containing high oleoresin, what are all the varieties suitable. So unless you go for a variety specific or a constituent specific variety, your process at the end will not be economical. That is the reason why we say. So that is what I want to highlight in this short period which is given to me, that for whatever crop we are using, let us be specific. If we are going for a vegetable or for a powder making, the varieties which is good. That is anyway, Salem Erode, that is best because of its curcumin content. We need only 2%, and that is available in that. For that, if we go for a high curcumin variety, we may not get that golden yellow color. We get here the orange tinge. It goes slightly towards orange shade. So if we want curcumin, we may not economically get returns from low curcumin varieties. We have to go for high curcumin varieties. So that is what for turmeric, and our own experience, like what we have done at Andhra Pradesh, Chintapalli, that is one region which is known for its turmeric cultivation for the traditional Chintapalli local varieties. So if we see the length, it will be very long varieties of turmeric, and it is known for its high oil and oleoresin in the second year. Like what we grow in our region, it is not a 7-month or 8-month crop. They grow it continuously for 2 years at a stretch. That is because the weather conditions there, and the cultivation practice and the local varieties of that is suited for that region. And we are getting a variety at the end, a product at the end which is high in oil and high in oleoresin. It has its own advantages for its pharmaceutical application, because when we see the curcumin content there, it goes something around 7%. At the end of second year, I mean, not at the first year. Maybe around 7%, oil content about 8 or 9%, and oleoresin content, if you see, it is going to about 22%. I mean, that is a high level of escalation of these varieties, and many of the industry, if it is for oleoresin extraction or other things, they're preferring that. But only one disadvantage they say is because the oil content is high, they have to separate it first and then go for extraction. So the region wise, we have varieties which are known for its own application. So this is our experience. I'm not elaborating much. Now I'll just go to the other crop, ginger. Ginger, when we see ginger of Kerala, ginger is grown across the country for its own purpose. Generally, it is grown as for fresh ginger, requirement as a fresh ginger. So there is a difference between a crop grown as a fresh ginger or a fresh commodity and a crop grown for dry ginger making. So when it is grown for fresh ginger making, then we call it as a vegetable ginger, for vegetable purpose. And there we don't call it as a spice. Only when it is dried, and when it is utilized as dry ginger, we call it as a spice. Otherwise, it is called as a fresh ginger. And fresh ginger also, it is not that all the varieties can be converted into dry ginger. There are varieties there, the content of crude fiber, content, because ginger is fibrous in nature, and there are varieties which are having high fiber content, varieties which have medium fiber, and varieties which have low fiber content. At the level maturity, again it is 8 months for ginger. At that stage, we get generally varieties which is having high fiber content. And those varieties, I will just mention 2 varieties which are good for dry ginger making. And that is, one is the Himachal, variety Himachal, and another variety is Maran. That is very specific to the Wayanad region. So these varieties, and Wayanad local also. So these varieties, so variety wise categorization for the purpose for which it should be used is very important. And those ginger, when we get the end product, and recovery, why we are telling this is recovery after drying the dry ginger, because that is called as a spice. That recovery, when it is economical, only then our business will be profitable. So there we get recovery more than 20%. 20 to, if you go to the variety Himachal and other things, we get up to 22% recovery. But all the other varieties, which are having other characteristics, it may be good, it looks very bulky in the fresh form. Those ginger, when we dry, a recovery, when we see, goes something around the 13%, 14%, that is dry ginger. And it may not have the appearance which is appealing, because there are trade requirements for dry ginger. The trade requirements says that it should have a long piece, it should have 3 branchings and all that. So if we don't get, and it should not be broken bits are third last category if you go for dry ginger making. So that grade, if you go, so this requires this dry ginger operation. Let me talk only about the spice. Fresh ginger, of course, there is a lot of demand for fresh ginger across the country. Across the country, most of the states right now are doing fresh ginger marketing, except for Kerala and certain regions of Karnataka. We only go for dry ginger making. And dry ginger is removal of the outer skin. And this removal should be very specific. It should be done immediately after harvest, because the more we delay, the skin gets adhered to the meat portion and removal will be difficult. And once it is more, it starts losing moisture, removal along with the skin, the meat portion also comes. And we know ginger is valued for its aroma and for its flavor. That gets lost the more we disturb the surface. So only the skin has to be removed, and that has to be dried, and it takes about 2 weeks. That is in a good weather conditions, or it takes about good 2 weeks. So, and the trade requirement, that is what is traded. And Indian dry ginger, mainly from Kerala, it is number two in the international market for its quality. So now if we tell number 2, who is number 1? It is our Jamaica. Jamaican ginger is known for its quality. That quality which our ginger slightly is lacking is its the lemony nature, limonin content. There is a content called limonin. That limonin content is slightly less, and this gives what lemon-like flavor for the dry ginger. And the ginger grown in that region is having that flavor. In Jamaican region as well. Otherwise, all the other qualities are comparable to those characters of Jamaican, and we are still ruling in the international market for the quality of dry ginger what we produce here. And especially the regions, I'll just tell which are the important regions in Kerala which is known for this dry ginger making. Of course, Wayanad is there, but specifically the regions in Ernakulam district, Moatupura and other things are very well known for dry ginger. And when we see the trade of ginger, it is called spices generally from India. When we see all that specification and other things by the region from where it is grown. And in this, particularly the district today chosen for is having mandated crop as ginger. That means ginger is grown. I didn't know that in that region because the turmeric, of course, it was known that it is grown, but ginger, I was not knowing that that particular district is also mandated for. So apart from dry ginger, 90% of the ginger produced here goes as dry ginger as a major value added crop, because only in that form we call it as a spice. Other than that, ginger can be used for various other aspects like value added products of our generally what we do for other fruits and vegetables like ginger squash, ginger candy, ginger what to say, it can be added as an ingredient for any other fruits and vegetable. So in this aspect, I will give one more example, which is a successful model of industry, because this is an industry entrepreneurs meet. So I thought I will take the example of another industry that is on ginger, which is, of course, I'm dry ginger. Most of them are going, whoever is doing, and the trade requirements as such is very, it should not break, and then it should not be in bits and pieces. A lot of manual labor is required for processing it, all that. Only then we can compete in that market level. Other ways, when we are going, I don't know, it is a small quantity which is going for other levels of value addition, and one such industry which readily comes to my mind for ginger value added products who are doing very successful. And the next thing is they are using one of our variety called Varada. Varada is a variety which is from Indian Institute of Spices. There are three varieties which are known for its medium fiber quality. Medium fiber is Varada, Rajata, and Mahima. In that particular variety named as Varada is being cultivated there, and it is used by this industry for making value-added products, because the fiber content in that is medium, and hence it is good for making, what to say, candies and juices and all the other things. So that it is that industry is named by the Jive. Recently, it has a few years back it has been renamed. Earlier it was by the name Nadukara Agencies. Now it is called as a Jive, and they pack the ginger-based juices in the Tetra packs, and it is it is something which is known for its quality, and they are ginger-based candies. Ginger-based candies are something really excellent to taste for the texture and for the, I don't know, the variety Varada, which is a medium fiber variety. So that variety, when we are going in for candy, this Jive is a firm which is doing on a large scale, and they are quite successful also. So there, the importance of variety. just telling this is for specifying the importance of variety and the region for getting the crop specific or the region specific quality for a product. So in that the region, because this group of farmers or entrepreneurs, potential entrepreneurs who are there in this group, when you are going for commodity, what is the end use and what is the raw material, what is the source and what is the character of that raw material. So let us identify these things before, because process is good, because we are whatever we do, we will get the process, and in process, you cannot enhance the quality of a product. So whatever the raw material will have, that character only the product will have. So somebody else or some other region can produce a better quality product, means the variety will have certain important or some play in whatever product they do. So I want to highlight here is on the ginger based products, quality based on this. And coming now to chili, this is all our experience here. I'm not telling anything else. It's all what we have experienced or what we have given to our either entrepreneurs, either farmers, or other stakeholders, whoever have come to us from different at different levels. And now coming to chili main problem we all know. It is the problem first. Of course, chili. There are a number of varieties of chilies known for, and for the purpose for which it is used. Because each chili, when we see varieties of chilies, whether it is for the pungency level, whether it is for the color, whether it's for the taste, and whether it is for the flavor. And across the country, when we see, now suppose I say Guntur long chilies, it is known for its pungency, it's known for its color, and all that is it. In Kerala, we have here, there is another bird's eye chili. When we see this bird's eye chili, because this is a chili topic, I am telling that. So there also we may have chilies of specific pungency or the specific color, and the end use, of course, chili. Ultimately, it is being dried and it is used as a powder form. Other than that, from chili, we get two important value-added products, that is the oleoresin. Two products, pungency valued for its pungency and another one valued for its color. And if we want an oleoresin of a particular color and a particular pungency, then the blending is done at the industry. So that is high end of value addition. Otherwise, at medium level of value addition, it is a drying itself. If we can properly dry, properly pack, and properly store, then from chilies we are going to get properly powder also. Once you powder pulverize, it can be in the form of flakes, it can be in the form of fine, whatever the mesh requirement, because chili is marketed or being traded in different size requirements. So based on the size requirement, I think all that will be known to this group, but still I am just telling based on the mesh size and other things we are and there are a number of missionaries, and I think missionaries right now there is no shortage. So many industries across the country, especially for almost all these crops, are doing manufacturing. And there are different levels: fully automatic, semi-automatic, and ultimately, to what capacity you want. So the machineries for all this are available. But one problem what we generally face with chilies, because R&D organization, I feel it is my duty to tell the stakeholders the issue also. The bright side is okay, everything is good, everything is available, but then the issue what we generally face in chili is its problem associated with aflatoxin and the pesticide residue level. So these two are the major issues in chili what we face: pesticide residue level if we tell it is the cultivation, because once a product is prepared, once it is, we know, because all this dry chili or other, when it is traded, our especially for spices, this quality check or the levels of the different contents, the quality is very, 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 very stringent. It is at ppb levels, parts per billion level. That is the smallest thing can be traced. We today, when we send a consignment outside, even our Indian law FSSI also, our levels are comparatively very stringent compared to the other crops, because of its potential and the value. As we all know, it is a high value, low volume crop, and the value given is so high that the cost for all this is very high. And because of all this, the specifications, what is the quality specifications, are also very, very, very stringent, and it is being detected also at ppb level. And at this time, we have to see is our pesticide limit. The problem, I will just talk about 2 more lines about the problems in chilies, what we are facing. The pesticide residue, and this pesticide residue problem is generally at the cultivation, at the field level problem, because for various reasons or for various problems associated in the cultivation, we are applying different types of pesticides, though the recommended dose will be optimum at the safe level, but we all know that everybody don't follow the recommendations. They go beyond recommendations, and ultimately what is happening is that is reflected in our product, and because of this, the product will have higher levels of many of the toxic chemicals, which is not permitted in our food. So this, if we have to control, we have to control at the cultivation stage. And because of all these issues, what we face, the problems, the good cultivation practices has already come in for spices. And I think our the next speaker, Sanjay Dave sir, and will talk about the issues on how it has to be controlled. It is very much important. And next thing is after harvest and other things, one big problem which is very much associated, and it is very severe for chili, is the problem of aflatoxin. This problem of aflatoxin is mainly because of the problem of fungal aspergillus fungus, which are producing secondary metabolites, and because of this, we have they are the product of this metabolism of this fungus, and which is reflected as aflatoxin, and it can be detected at a very, very low ppb level, and EU or ASTA levels, which is commonly followed. These are the specs or quality specifications what we generally follow for spices. For ASTA standards, only up to 20 ppb of aflatoxin is permitted, and for EU it is only 10. So this at 10 ppb, that means your process and other things, because of moisture, it is very much especially in the regions when the humidity is very high, this issue, even one day if you break the machineries itself, when we see, the machineries, 2 days if you don't use, the residue of the previous dust and other things will be there on the machines. And after 2 days, when we can see the fungal growth, and the product itself, even the whole chilies, if it is not properly packaged or if it is not properly stored, both and we also know there is a practice for getting the weight, and because chili should not break. So to prevent breaking, there is a faulty practice of adding water, but all these are done intermediate stage, and because of this only our aflatoxin problem is very dominant in chilies. And in a very short period, maybe few days, depending upon the moisture content, in few days itself this becomes visible, and the toxin generation is also becoming very high. So, and this issue, several of our consignment, because it is an entrepreneur's meet, again I'm telling, we have, and chili is a mandate crop of today's discussion. entrepreneurs must be very careful when we take the raw materials, both for its pesticide residual and for its aflatoxin. It has to be checked, tested, and then processed, because once if aflatoxin is detected in the raw material, by any means it cannot be eliminated. So that is the basic information. Whatever washing, whatever you do, it cannot be removed. So again, so this is in brief. Let us start the session. So I thank the organizers, IFPT, Director IFPT, all the participants. No, I'll be sitting. I am there for the whole session, for the opportunity given, and for the little I am able to share with you. It is only, I am not talking about processing because so many speakers are talking about the processing, but surely it is my duty to talk about the issues what we are facing in processing. So commonly faced issues I have discussed in, but other than that, maybe there are more issues which are very specific to the region. As the discussion goes, we may discuss, and the other speakers also will tell about their different aspects, and we will further discuss. So thank you, and we will go to the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes.
So now we'll call our first speaker for this session, Dr. R. Mahendran, sir. Sir will provide us insights on the PMFME scheme guidelines and features. We welcome you, sir.
Good afternoon to all, and this particular webinar is under the PMFME scheme. I will go through briefly another 5 to 10 minutes about the scheme and how it will be useful for the spice entrepreneurs. So directly getting into the scheme, this scheme is credit linked loan facility for the micro entrepreneurs who are already existing in the market. Like for example, if they are doing some business on the spices, they can directly get into this particular scheme, wherein you will get at least 35% of the overall project cost as a subsidy, credit linked subsidy. And apart from the credit linked subsidy, the unique of this particular scheme is that we would be providing the professional and technical support throughout the project duration, like 5 years. And also, if one particular district or one particular location, more than 10 or particular number of beneficiaries are available, common incubation facility also been given. For example, if you wanted to store spices at one particular location of which could be used for many different beneficiaries, so that facility also available under this scheme. So the ultimate aim is, apart from spices, all other food domain put together, there are a lot of unorganized micro food entrepreneurs are available. Under this scheme, we are aiming to bring at least 2 lakh entrepreneurs as a formalized framework. So this particular scheme works under ODOP, one district, one product approach. Every district in the country, about 720 districts are allotted already the one district, one product. And the overall budget is 10,000 crore is allotted for the next 5 years from 2021 to 24-25. The sharing pattern for the states are like Government of India would share the 60% and the state would share the 40%. In case of northeastern states, it would be 90% from the Government of India and 10% from the states. The benefits of this particular scheme is that one is individual beneficiaries, the other one is group beneficiaries. Say, for example, farmer producer organizations or cooperatives or the self-help groups. There are 2 components. One is for the individual beneficiary, another one for the group beneficiary. So in either case, credit linked subsidy at the rate of 35% of the total project cost, or the maximum of 10 lakhs would be given. With respect to group activity, initial working capital of rupees 40,000 would be given to the SHG members under the scheme. As I mentioned, there may be already existing entrepreneur, they don't want any machinery or any other thing. but what they produce already, they wanted to go for branding and marketing. There may be some branding and marketing would have been in the local, their district. If they wanted to go for the state-wise or the southern states-wise or national-wise or international-wise, in order to support the marketing and branding of their product, 50% grant would be given under this scheme. So as I mentioned, the pattern of assistance, not only the credit linked subsidy, but also the handholding support by the resource persons. So there will be a master trainer for every states. One would be on the domain specific master trainer, another one master trainer would be available for the EDP part, entrepreneurship development part. And also every district is been allotted district level training persons as well as the district resource person. So the role of this district resource person is, yes, I am existing micro entrepreneurs. I wanted to get this benefit of the scheme. So, but I don't know how to prepare the detailed project report, because when you go to the bank for the subsidy, they will ask the detailed project report. So this DRPs would assist bridging the gap between the beneficiary and the state authority. They will prepare the DPRs for you, and they can able to, and you can able to submit to the bank for the availing the scheme. Apart from that, I don't suppose some entrepreneurs might be already existing. They don't want any scheme money, but they want the skill or entrepreneurship training. So that also would be given under this scheme. So apart from that, the scheme would take care of the registration under FSSI, GST, Udyogadar, and support for the capital investment. All this would be taken care under this scheme. So as I mentioned, apart from the individual beneficiary, a common incubation facility also be given. So this incubation facility would be operated under a government setup, like any ICR institute will host this one, and it will run like a profitable organization. So they will run it as a profitable organization. So incubators can come in there and incubate their product, and this will run. So even for this also support for marketing and branding, 50% of the grant of the total project would be given. So the administrative architecture is like there will be a national committee, and then every state has a chief secretary heading the committee for sanctioning the project expenditure up to rupees 10 lakh. Whereas all the application would be screened by the district level committee under the chairmanship of district collector, and then you can directly apply the this particular scheme through the MOFA portal. So I'll take you to the portal, how anyone can access the portal, and anyone can get the details of whom we need to contact. So this is Ministry of Food Processing Industry PMFME's site, wherein you can able to select the detail like individual beneficiary or group beneficiary. Like that you can able to select, and if you wanted to apply for the common incubation facility, that also you can able to select, and you can put your username and password, and then it will ask the details like whether you are existing entrepreneur or you are getting into a new entrepreneur. In case of new entrepreneur, you need to get into only the ODOP of particular district. Suppose one district is selected, given as a Ginger, then if you are newly entering into the business, then you need to enter only on the selected ODOP. Otherwise, other than that particular ODOP, you can also apply under this scheme. So there are, as I mentioned, there are state nodal agency, state technical institution. So all those details are available under this link. So wherein you can able to get the district nodal officers. For example, these are all the district state-wise and the district-wise. What is the name of the person of district resource person, their contact mobile number, their email ID, everything is given for all the states across the country. So for example, Kerala, if you take it, so Ernakulam district, Renu Mani is the person, district resource person, their mobile number, email ID, everything is given. So likewise for every state is given under this portal. Apart from that, we also have the Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology website, wherein you can get all the resource material. Like if you wanted to process any particular spices, how it can be processed, the processing video is available. and also the technical details of the machineries which is involved for the production, that machinery cost and machinery suppliers details, all those are available. And also we have also put the detailed project report as a draft copy, wherein you can also modify and you can use that one for the applying into the loan. So under the scheme, as I mentioned, apart from the subsidy, we also provide the capacity building, which would be like product specific training and entrepreneurship specific training. So here we are divided into 9 major sector, like fruits and vegetable, grain processing, milk and milk processing, fat and oilseed processing, fish, marine, spices and plantation craft, bakery and confectionery, and minor forest produce like honey, mushrooms, those things also included into it. So this national level research institute like IAPT and NIFTAM would be already organized the training for the specific master trainers, apart from the ICR and CSIR based technical institutes. So the levels of training included like master trainers and then district level trainers, and then DRP training is over. Now already beneficiary training also been started in particular very specific states, and also beneficiary and for example Kerala already beneficiary got loan as well. So these are all the ODOP based training modules which is developed by AFPT. For example, here you can get the training syllabus handbook, master trainer training handbook, and specific syllabus for the training for all the domains. Here today since we are doing with spices and plantation craft, so I'll just open the total handbook which is prepared by the CPCRA Kasarkodu. So here you would get complete details of the spice processing, including the mechanization, packaging, plant layout, food safety regulation certificates, what are the soft skills required, how communication skills, everything is available in this portal. Apart from that, what are the various presentations which you are asking in the chat box? No? All the presentations are already available. Not only spices, or all the different domains like fruits and vegetable, everything is available. Technical details in this particular portal. If anyone, it is free to everyone. Anyone can download it. Another one is like we have also, as I mentioned, we have also developed spice and plantation craft processing based videos, as well as say for example anything ginger powder for example. So here we have made a processing video in ginger processing, technical presentation, what are the packaging technology which is required for the ginger powder, food safety and FSSA regulation for it, and model DPR, and what is the course material which is required for that ginger processing. So everything will be available, is easy for downloading. So once you click here, it will ask your name and email and mobile number. That's it. If you submit, you can able to download the DPR as well as all the material which I have listed out in this session. Thank you so much. If you have any queries, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much, sir. So now we'll move to the next speaker of the day. We have with us Shri Sanjay Dave ji, sir, advisor at FSSAI and former chairperson of Codex. Sir will be speaking on the national and international standards for the spices. We welcome you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind invitation. So here in my presentation, I'm going to very briefly talk about international and national standards that are relevant to spices in general. I think I will try and skip this slide, but basically the purpose of the SPS agreement is that every country has a right to protect the life and health of plants, animals, and human beings without creating unnecessary barriers to trade, and that is how these standards are set. See, in the context of food safety, it is the Codex standards that are relevant under the SPS agreement of the WTO. So animal health is looked after by an international organization called OIE, plant health by IPPC, and human health by Codex. So in case fresh produce terms of, for example, ginger or anything else is going to be exported by anyone, you got to look at the IPPC standards. In terms of food safety, yes, certainly Codex standards are the relevant international standards in the framework of WTO. These are the three organizations. IPPC is in Rome, OIE is in Paris, and Codex Alimentarius Commission is also in Rome. And these are known as the three sisters of the SPS Agreement. So what is Codex? Codex is an international body of FAO and WHO, as was mentioned to you during the introduction. It adopts standards, it adopts codes of practice and guidelines. And these are all voluntary in nature, but countries can adopt or adapt these into their national legislation. So what India has done, that is FSSAI has done, is many of these standards have been taken from Codex Alimentarius. And there is a spices committee of Codex Committee on Spices and Culinary Herbs, which is hosted by India, and the secretariat is in the Spices Board of India. And the mandate of this organization is to protect the health of consumers, like it is in the case of SPS Agreement, and also to ensure fair practices in food trade, which means that you do not discriminate, you provide transparent information to all the countries, and that is what is the mandate of Codex, and that is what is intended under the SPS Agreement. This work is done in a collaborative manner by all the countries. There are 188 countries that are members of Codex, plus the European Union as a group is also a member of Codex. Plus there are several international, intergovernmental and non-governmental organizations and UN organizations that are participating in Codex, but they participate in the capacity of observers, but decisions on standards are taken by the members, which is 188 countries plus the European Union. India became a member in 1964. The Codex work that has been done in case of spices, I would quickly come there, is that you can look at the various standards. All these standards will be these slides will be shared by the IIFPT Secretariat to all of you, and you can have a look at it. And these the links I have provided here. There are 8 standards for spices that and culinary herbs that have been adopted by Codex, and these are the ones: pepper, cumin, thyme, garlic, oregano, basil, cloves, and dried ginger, about which Dr. Jayashri spoke in very great detail. The work that is currently being handled are on saffron and nutmeg, which are at an advanced stage. So you have an opportunity to provide your inputs based on the agenda which is there on the website of Codex Alimentarius. You can provide these inputs to the Spices Board of India and also to FSSAI. Similarly, for turmeric, which you can see down below, it was a proposal from India, and this work is at a very initial stage of development. So there is a great opportunity for all of you to participate and provide your inputs. Now, sometimes you have to add certain food additives when it comes to seasonings and condiments and tenderizers. So there is a GSFA, which is the full form is General Standards for Food Additives, and you will find the food additives in food category 12, as you can see on the screen. And if you see this on the Codex website, you will find the information on food additives in the under the GSFA. Now, extremely important are the general principles of food hygiene, which have been developed by Codex, and these will be very critical, particularly for the spices industry, because these are low moisture foods. And there is a specific code of hygienic practice which has been developed for low moisture foods, and spices are covered there. And therefore, you really need to look at these, because ultimately, your product has to sell. You are going to be entrepreneurs. You are already entrepreneurs, some of you. And if you have to sell your product, you have to make sure that your spices are hygienically produced and there are no aflatoxins or contaminants or pesticide residues. One thing that I always generally like to say is that if your product is good, the customer will come back to you, and if your product is bad, the product will come back to you. Now, there is also therefore a document guideline on validation of food safety control measures. So you implement certain hygienic practices, you implement good agriculture practices, but then how do you validate your practices is extremely important. This is very important for all the entrepreneurs, the new and the existing ones, to validate your food safety control measures, because a lot of our spices have faced rejections in other countries, particularly in Europe, USA, but also in many developing countries, particularly in the Middle East. So there are about 90 pesticides in spices that have been that are made available by Codex. Codex has set these standards. There's an online database. Now, all this that I'm presenting to you in terms of international standard doesn't necessarily mean that you have to comply only with this. The SPS agreement says that whenever you want to export something, the standards of the importing country have to be respected. And when you want to sell your products, you have to comply with the standards notified by FSSAI. But FSSAI and many countries generally base their standards on international standards, that is Codex, whether it is commodity standards or general standards for food additives or pesticides or contaminants or anything else. Now, there is also a code of practice for lead contamination in food, and that applies to spices as well. And most importantly, you have to take care of the mycotoxins. There are no Codex maximum limits for aflatoxins. So there is a reason for making a new work proposal for setting a maximum limit for aflatoxins. And the Spices Board of India should be more than interested in making a new work proposal for Codex to establish aflatoxin limits for spices in general. In the Indian standards are for B1 aflatoxin, which is highly carcinogenic. It is 15 ppb, and for total aflatoxins it is 30. Whereas if you see the EU standards, it is 5 ppb and 10. Now, if 5 and 10 is extremely difficult to comply with, there is a reason why a Codex standard should be set, so that the EU can be asked to comply with Codex. Suppose the Codex standard is 10 and 20, say for example. So then EU will have to modify its standards to bring it down to 10 and 20. So we really need to think about all these things, and the Spices Board should be very much interested. And the industry can really push the Spices Board of India to have Codex set a standard for maximum limits for aflatoxins. There is a code of practice for reduction of acrylamide. Acrylamide comes in roasting. So when you prepare your seasonings and condiments and spice mixes, then you have to get into certain kind of roasting. And when roasting is done, is overdone, then you have acrylamide produced, which is again harmful for the health. Spices should not be stored in the open, should not be dried in the open. I don't think we are doing it in India, but there is a code of practice for reducing contamination with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, which is caused on account of smoking and drying processes going around near the factories. And since the spices have a large surface area, and if you are going to dry your spices in open conditions, then your product is likely to get contaminated with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, and that is harmful for human health, and products can get rejected because of that. And not only abroad, but even in India, you will not be able to provide a healthy product or a safe product to the Indian consumer. The areas where Codex work on spices is important, is where you can take a lead, is developing Codex standards for aflatoxins and ochratoxins in red chilies, ginger, and nutmeg. Maximum limits for lead in spices is not existing currently. There is only a code of practice, but maybe there is a need for establishing a Codex standard for lead. In case of standards for dried ginger, there is a discussion going on whether calcium oxide or sulfur dioxide are food additives or processing aids. So there you could all provide your inputs to the Spices Board of India so that a particular position can be taken in this Codex committee to look after the interest of our entrepreneurs. The FSSAI regulatory framework these are the 6 principal regulations that you all need to comply with: licensing, packaging, food products standards and food additives, contaminants, toxins, prohibitions and restrictions, and of course referral laboratories is not really concerned, but the first 5 are extremely important. You got to look at the licensing. All of you need to obtain a license, whether a state license or a central license, depending upon the volume of your business. Packaging and labeling are extremely important, which I'm going to elaborate a little bit in terms of what is there. So earlier there was one document, and now these have been divided into 3 different documents. Packaging specifications are very important. Look at this document on the FSSAI website. Then there is a document on labeling and display of spices. How do you label them? What labels to be put? What not to be put? And there is also a specific document on advertising and claims. So you cannot just start advertising and putting claims on your products packages. There are certain guidelines on that. I would not say guidelines, these are regulations on the FSSAI website. Please do look at these. There's no point going into details of each and every section of these documents, but you got to look it for yourselves. Broadly, the labels must contain all this information, which is normally supposed to be on all food products, should be in Hindi or in English or both. What is important from your angle is there at serial number 5, the specific declaration of food additives and allergens. If there is any ingredient in your spices or spices per se, if they can be categorized as allergens, please do put it on the label. Spices are this is the food products standards and food additives regulation, which is into 3 parts: food standards, food additives, and microbiological specifications. So in the first part, there are 13 product categories, and spices are in this category of salts, spices, and related products. Sometimes these are also used in beverages, so please be careful about looking at the food categories. And then the third one is the other food products and ingredients, where there is a possibility of using these spices, and look at what standards are applicable to you. The second one is on the food additives, which you should see. It contains a complete list of 15 tables, and you will find food additives prescribed by FSSAI, the maximum use limits that have been prescribed, or there is a GMP table applicable to spices. Please look at this and comply with these requirements. The third one is on the microbiological specifications, and you will see under Appendix B, there are other food products also specifying low moisture foods, specifically spices are covered there, and what are the maximum limits of microbiological limits in case of spices are important for you to keep in mind, because your products can be rejected, not only rejected, but in the domestic market there are offenses and penalties available in the FSSAI Act. Food safety and standards, contaminants and toxins and residues regulations. There are 3 parts again: metal contaminants, crop contaminants, and pesticide residues. So there are 10 heavy metals that are listed. Of course, the number 9, zinc, has been removed, so there are 9 left. Look at the maximum limits of these heavy metals that can creep into your spices or spice mixes. The crop contaminants, there are aflatoxins, ochratoxins, but hardly anything is mentioned in case of spices. But look at polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, particularly in case of fish, but not in case of spices. But still have a look at this part of this regulation, just in case there is something mentioned for spices, because the FSSAI keeps upgrading them and keep modifying them. So new amendments keep coming up, and you got to keep track of the FSSAI regulations and their amendments. There are about 203 pesticides, which are, I forgot to put that slide here. There are 203 pesticides listed on the FSSAI website, and look at which ones are applicable in case of spices. Now, prohibitions and restrictions for sale also has three main clauses: add mixtures, certain ingredients. Look at the ones in red color, argemone seeds in mustard and cassia in cinnamon. There are certain restrictions. Please have a look at the FSSAI regulation. It is not a very big regulation, it's just 3-4 pages, but it is an extremely important regulation which will be applicable to you. And remember, sale of loose spices is not allowed. It is prohibited. Compounded asafoetida exceeding 1 kilogram in weight except in sealed container need to be adhered to. In terms of product specifications, product standards, there are quality specifications for more than 40 spices and condiments in the one that I referred to you in red color, where you have to look at the spices, those 13 food categories. 40 spices standards are mentioned: cardamom, chili, cinnamon, cassia, cloves, coriander, cumin, etc., etc. 40 of them. So you must be aware of these standards, which is written in Part A of the Food Products Standards and Food Additives Regulations. And there have been new amendments also, so please keep track of that. In terms of contaminants, these are the specifications. There are specifications for heavy metals in the FSSAI regulations, for naturally occurring toxic substances, and for aflatoxins. Plus the microbiological specifications have been specified for 26 spices, and it says that in a quantity of 25 grams, it should be 0, absent. So please remember these maximum limits of contaminants and aflatoxins and salmonella. These are some of the some information about the quality specifications. I don't have to read each one of them, but there are pesticide MRLs which have been specified for cardamom, and there also you will find for ginger. It says it can be bleached with lime, but whether it is a food additive or a processing aid is something which is currently being discussed in the framework of Codex. Haldi, turmeric. There are specifications mentioned there about coloring powder, lead chromate, which should be absent, but there are maximum limits for heavy metals and pesticides. Tamarind is also there. Coriander, there are specifications for moisture, volatile oil content, acid insoluble, ash, extraneous matter, plates, insects, damaged matter in case of whole coriander. Now, these are some of the US specifications. ASTA, Association of Spice Trade, I don't remember the full name, but ASTA is from the US. It is an association of spices traders, and they have also prescribed certain standards for their quality standards for the different spices. So if you want to market in India, you have to comply with FSSAI. If you want to market in USA, these are not regulatory standards, these are association standards of traders, and they like to comply with these. Most importantly, what ASTA has done has provided several guidance documents, and you must go to the ASTA website and see these guidance documents for prevention and of adulteration and contamination. Allergens. Then there are screening tools, pesticide residues. There are guidelines for implementing GAP, GMP, and HACCP. By the way, Quality Council of India, which is also a Ministry of Commerce body, has also developed standards for GAP and HACCP, and they are already on their website. So INDGAP, IND stands for India, INDGAP, and INDHACCP. There are other guidelines on how to save your spices from microbiological contamination. How do you validate your process controls? And there is a codex document as well, which I mentioned to you. Similarly, European Spice Association, they do not have regulatory standards, but they have specified minimum quality requirements for certain spices. And they have also developed several guidance documents, and all these guidance documents will be useful for you. So look at the ASTA guidance documents, look at the ESA guidance documents, and use them to the maximum. And there are as well codex documents on guidance documents. So idea is you should use all these documentation for developing your own practices and validate your process controls, validate your practices that you are implementing, and try to market the best produce, not only for exports, but also for the domestic market. Generally, people are more concerned, the entrepreneurs are more concerned about their export quality. But remember, you also owe an allegiance to the Indian community, and particularly if you are taking support of the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. So please be careful of the health of the Indian consumers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing such a valuable information with all of us. Now, I would like to invite Dr. S. Anand Kumar, sir, Assistant Professor of Food Processing Engineering and Head in Charge of Department of Food Packaging and System Development at Indian Institute of Food Processing Technology, IFPT Thanjavur. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Shilki Datta. So in this lecture, just I want to give some of the idea, otherwise what type of the trends currently they are taking place in the national level, otherwise in the international level, for the particularly for the spice products. So in the title they given limited the turmeric, ginger, and chili, major spices they have taken. But we can see overall, considering that a spice product, what are the different types of materials and machineries, what are the quality standards which will be followed in FSSA, all these things also we will see in this presentation. So these introductions, mainly most of them they have talked. Just I want to tell you, under this PMFME scheme, the budget what it is given by the government, really you can set a small processing unit within the allotted budget, and you can plan for exporting, because there are some of the commodity which will be regional wise, which will be a seasonal wise, and those commodity it has a value in the foreign market, so you can target such a commodity to process it and pack it and sell it in the export region. Otherwise, if you want to sell the spice product in your local commodity, so there also there are a lot of opportunities are there, and many of them may be the new entrepreneurs for this food processing line. So by seeing or listening different technical terms and seeing different articles, they may be little bit doubt where to start, how to approach, is it possible to start such an industry. So these things which will be coming in your mind. But just even after completion of that presentation, our IIPT will upload all the presentation in the YouTube also. So one or two times you can listen what is the expert they are telling, and after that, further if you have any doubt anywhere, you can send only one mail to our director. So we are the team members here working in the ODOP schemes. So whenever you have any technical support, so immediately we will guide you either in the DPR preparation or technical items or machinery where you can purchase, what type of capacity you need, all these things also we can provide. So particularly the opportunities for our Indian spices are high in our that global market. And also you see that more than 109 varieties, 75 which will be produced in India, and many countries it is depending on our Indian spices only. So here when we come to the packaging, so any value added product which if it is covered with some physical material, that material which will protect your food items from the environmental factors, otherwise that human environment, even some physical vibrations. So without affecting your product, if the material is maintaining the quality, so that actions which will be called as a packaging. If you take any industry, that packaging will be the last unit operation, maybe from cleaning, grading, converting into spice powder. Finally, at the end, only the packaging will come. But considering consumer point of view, the first appearance is the packaging. So how your appearance of the packaging materials are there, what is the color you are giving for the labeling, and what is the logo you are giving it. So those things which will be mostly attractive by the consumers at the time of selecting the product. So in such a case, if you are starting the industry, your ultimate target it, you have to attract the customers. So in such a case, you have to pack the product in a very good form so that the consumers will accept it. Because many people, if you take that self-help groups or micro entrepreneurs, they will spend more energy on the preparation, quality maintenance, everything they will do it. But if you see the product of that packaged material, so normally they will pack it in some plastic container, they will place it some paper type of stickers, and they will try to sell it in the market. So even though you are preparing a high good quality product, but the demand, the people, the consumer, they will not accept it. So in such a case, the packaging is very acting a major role in the supply chain management, particularly in the consumer goods. So packaging is very important. And another thing, if you see, whenever you go for that packaging, so normally that packaging material should be leak proof, because the leak proof, the terminology, it should not allow any air to movement. Otherwise, it should not allow any moisture to movement through the atmosphere to the packaging material. Because whenever you take our spice product, it is having more flavor or aroma component, that essential oil. So because of this movement, either that atmospheric air, otherwise if you take that moisture, automatically that will causes any fungal growth, otherwise that flavor losses, all these things will come. So in such a case, what you have to do, your packaging material, it should be low permeability value of these things. And also hygienic and safe. So hygienic and safe in the sense, normally the paper, for example, if you take that paper, we have that virgin paper. That virgin paper, if you see, it will be produced from the wood pulp. But if you take the recycled paper, that waste paper, again it can be produced, it can be taken to the recycling plant, and it will be produced as a paper. So normally when we take that food items, they will use that virgin type of paper, so that any that chemical migrations or any diffusion of any other unwanted component, that cannot be taking place. So in such a case, your packaging material should be very clean one, and also it should be hygiene, and that will safeguard your product. And another thing, you see that economical value, selection of that packaging material. Normally, I used to tell, if you have that value of the product 100 rupees, you can spend 8 to 10% of that product value for the packaging material. For example, 100 rupees product means you can spend 8 rupees or 10 rupees for the packaging material. So you can't spend 15 rupees or 20 rupees for the packaging material itself. Then what will happen? It will be added cost to the consumers only. So in such a case, that packaging material cost should be economical and easy, and also it should be easily disposable, environmental friendly. That is very important. Even nowadays, the people, they are purchasing the product. Those who are producing a material by using a green technology, without using any chemicals as preservatives. Otherwise, they are selecting the packaging material itself, a biodegradable one, otherwise easily decomposable. That type of consumers also nowadays coming in the market. So in such a case, that is very much important. And also your packaging material should support the process printing. For example, sometimes you may have a continuous filling and sealing operation. For example, if you take form fill sealing machine, so a continuous packet filling and sealing will be taking place. In such a case, your packaging material should support that the machine orientation, and also it will support that bulk production also. That is another thing. And also that safety legislation, as Sanjay sir told, if you want to sell the product in India, you have to follow FSSAI guidelines. You want to sell the product in the European market, you have to follow the EU guidelines, Dubai. Otherwise, if you see Canadian, America, so all these things you have to, where you are going to export or where you want to sell your product, that country rules and regulations you have to follow. That I will show you in APIDA website, where you have to go and where you can get those details also. And another thing, if you see the Indian spices, now in this area we are taking that ginger, turmeric, chili. These are all the major spices, and if you see that minor, that coriander, cumin, fenugreek, all these things will be a minor spices. So here, if you see the structure of these spice products, for example, when you convert into value addition, like when you are converting as a powder form, okay, so that ground spices, then you will get a powder form. There you have some packaging material. But here, if you want to pack this bay leaves, okay, otherwise if you want to see that fenugreek, otherwise if you want to pack that turmeric, so there are some the sharp edges in the dried product. You got it? So this dried product, when you pack it in a normal plastic cover, so the sharp edges which will make puncture on that plastic cover, so what will happen through that air and moisture which will get enter, and that spoilage will decay. So in such a case, when you select the raw spices where it has that sharp edges, so that packaging material, it should have more penetration strength. For example, in the testing of that plastic material, we will say puncture resistance test. So that packaging material, if it is having more that penetration strength force requirement, then this type of cover which can be easily supportive to avoid this type of the puncture which will be taking place in the plastic cover, and the dried spices you can use it for the packaging. And another form, when you come for this powdered material, okay, so under this ODOP scheme, that is spice value additions, so these spices we are having either pungent spices, aromatic only for that flavor component, aromatic bark, that phenolic spices, some extractions, colored spices, like that we have different categories. And another thing, if you see here, one is for that ground spices for that cooking purpose, otherwise we have that essential oil or olein resin. So these are all the things we have. Even if you take that ginger oil, that component will be there. Even if you take that turmeric, curcumin content will be there. Chili, olein resin, these are all the essential oils also having more demand in the global market. So even if you have some extraction unit, apart from that masala powder or it's that spice powder, ground powder, powder selling will be the one end. If you consider like that olein resin or essential oil preparations, okay, that also it has a very limited industries are there. Even you can plan if you have the raw material in your region, you can plan such a product also. For that also we have a demand in our market. So here, when we select the packaging material, so the according to the product, we can select a proper packaging material. For example, here if you take normally some chili powders are there, otherwise some masala powders are there. It is packed in a rigid plastic containers. The same masala powder, it is also packed in a glass containers, and also it is packed in a laminated pouches. In a bulk, it is coming in a gunny bag, and also which is having some the facilitation, otherwise to support the consumers, cotton boxes with the openings, that is also coming to satisfy the consumers' requirement. And also that craft peppers are there. So now the people will confuse, sir, which material will be suitable for a particular spices. You got it? So in such a case, once you select the particular ground spices, and you first finalize how long you want to extend the shelf life of the product. Okay, for example, sir, I want to extend for 6 months, I want to extend for 12 months or 9 months. Okay, so in such a case, normally any spice powder, if you take these laminated pouches, they will give you about 9 months to 12 months, will be 1 year will be the life period. Okay, so they will say best before use 9 months or 1 year. So which means after that, when you try to use it, maybe that flavor will be lose up, otherwise that color maybe you will not get it as a fresh one. So they will give you that the shelf life For example, that 9 months to 12 months. Sometimes the people every month they will buy and every month they will finish the product. So in such a case, they need 3 months period only, the life period. So in such a case, they will not go for such a multi-laminated pouches. They can come with the craft paper with the liner based, see-through window based material also will be there. And apart from that, there are some materials they want to store it for a longer period for easy usage also, like that containers also, which will be available. So in such a case, you can select how much you can invest for the packaging material. You got it? And what will be the shelf life of the product? So based on that, you can select different packaging material. So particularly for the spices, we have glass bottle, high density polyethylene, metal cans, and corrugated boxes. So normally these corrugated boxes, which will be used in the secondary packaging material, because you may have this type of pouch material or glass bottles. So it can be held in cotton boxes as a secondary packaging material. So that can be used for handling and transportation purpose. So here, when we select the packaging material, so what are the characteristics, important things to be there that we have mentioned? One is that spillage and spoilage. Okay, so your packaging material, you should not allow your finished product to be easily comes out from the packaging material. So normally, if you take that plastic film, we will conduct that leak-proof test for the plastic material. After filling, we will check the leak-proof test. Okay, at what pressure that sealing has been removed. Otherwise, we will conduct the busting strength. Okay, so at what force that packaging material will start to burst. So in such a case, because ours is a powdered material, so when we add some of the load on it, so what will happen? That plastic material which will lose the strength, so that spillage or that spoilage which will occur. So this packaging material should not have such a characteristic. And also, if you see, protection from light, heat, humidity, and oxygen. So these are all that we can say abiotic factors. Okay, that environmental factor that also which will cause us. For examples, here if you see our spices, it has that essential oil when that oxygen react, which will causes that fatty acid reactions. Humidity, moisture accumulations, microorganism growth, heat. That is also one of the important characteristics. Particularly if you see that storage godown, okay, that heat accumulations. So that also which will cause us that moisture loss. Even if there is more heat accumulations are there. So there also what will happen, that moisture condensation which will be taking place. From that point again, that microbial growth which will be started. And another thing, light. So light, mainly when we take that spice material, we want to retain the color value of the spices. But the light source, even if you take that solar, that sunlight, or even if you take our in the retail shop, they have so many lights. So what will happen, that UV rays which will be coming from that light source, it will break down the color pigment in the spices. So automatically what will happen, that red color chili after 1 month, 2 months, if it is exposure to longer time for the light, so that red color chili will become pale red color. That color value will go down. So that is why we are selecting some of the pouches like a laminated pouches where that light waves can be filtered. Otherwise, we are using that UV stabilized packaging material, so that light waves cannot be entered. And another thing, water vapor oxygen barrier, that is important, and high barrier property for prevent aroma and flavor component. Okay, for examples, we have that ginger paste or garlic paste. There we want to retain that aroma. If you take that ginger paste or garlic paste which is packed in our industry, normally it has 3 layers. Okay, inside layer will be that polyethylene layer, then we have that metallized layer, and after that we have one that polyethylene terephthalate. So these 3 layers will be there, and all these 3 layers having important functions for protecting this material. So in such a case, this aroma or flavor component, particularly that pasty items, otherwise any flavor component where you want to retain it for the pepper powder or whatever it may be. So in such a case, it should have that high barrier properties, and also grease and oil resistance. Okay, sometimes what will happen, this oil content, it can easily migrate through the packaging material. So in such a case, what will happen? So once that flavor component comes out, so that will automatically attract the insects. So that storage godown also will be affected by the insect infestation. So all these things, it can be maintained, your packaging material only which will support. So here we can take that one is that bulk packaging and another one is that ground spice powders. So here when we take that powdered spices, they are using this multi-wall paper sacks. Okay, so it is a liner, a paper craft paper with a liner, such a low density polyethylene or high density polyethylene liner materials are used, so that you can pack the material either 10 kg or 25 kg. So like that you can pack that ground powder. Textile bags are used, that high density polyethylene woven bags, this PP woven bags, otherwise HDPE plastic bags are used. Yeah, for that also inner that liner materials are used. So these are all the things which will be used for particularly in the bag storage. So when we take to that warehouse, this type of bag storage materials are used. And another thing for the old spices, they are using that jute bags. Normally they will say that A12, otherwise B12, according to that the spinning spinning of that woven or that fiber materials. So these things will be used. Otherwise DW gunny bags. These are all the things mainly used for that spice powder. And also you can see nowadays when we see that bulk packaging, for example 100 kg or 200 kg packaging, so that time these type of jumbo bags, okay, that PP woven bags with a liner, these jumbo bags are also used, because when we see some of the times that metal containers, otherwise that packaging materials, that will be having a cost will be higher. But if you see this type of bags, okay, so even it is available something like a 400 rupees or 600 rupees. So these jumbo bags are also available in different capacity, 50 kg or 100 kg, 250 kg capacities are available. So that can be also making a hermetic properties. For example, that plastic bags with hermetic sealings are also available in that. So based on, even sometimes you can see some of the company, they are having tie-up with IIPT also, they are adding some of the repellents in the plastic film itself. So these repellents, what will happen, that will not allow the insects to affect this food item. So the repellents, that components which will be evaporated from this packaging material, that makes that insects to be not entered to that pouch material in a bagged condition. So like that jumbo bags are also used. So here when we see that the quality maintenance, so the major factors which will spoil that spices, which will be a moisture content, okay, and loss of aroma, discoloration, insect infestation, and microbial contamination. So these are all the major problem. Mainly it will be taking place, either it may be a raw spices, otherwise it can be a finished product. So in such a case, when we take the some of the packaging material which will be used in the packaging area, so considering that plastics, we are using that low density and high density material. For example, this high density polyethylene material, when we take such a pasty material, okay, for example, even you take some chili sauce or some the tomato sauce, this type of sauce materials, it can be packed in a high density polyethylene. And a low density polyethylene, even fine powder, it can be packed, and it can be an inner layer for some of the metallized packaging material. Cellophane and polyester, laminated pouches, otherwise that metallized pouches, all these things are used for the finished products in the spice industries. So you can see here the retail shops. Okay, so the retail shops, here the people have different capacity. Okay, for example, some of them people, they will buy 50 grams of the packet. Some people, for example, if you take that restaurants, otherwise that hotels and other thing, they will buy that spice bags in terms of 5 kg or 10 kg like that. Otherwise, if you take according to that family size, they will buy even 1 kg, 2 kg packets also. So if you enter that retail shop, you can see different types of that packaging material with the same product. For example, some people, they will give it in a pouch material. Okay, some people, they will give it the same material in sometimes in a parchment paper or waxed paper, like how our coffee powders are coming in a paper. So environmental friendly, such a packaging material they will give. Some people, they will combine both the thing. The outside will be a cardboard type of paper, and inner they will have that metallized pouches. So metallized pouches with resealable. Okay, so sometimes what will happen, that printing cannot be done in a stand-up pouches. Okay, for example, they will get more that printing cost involvement. Again and again they will change the values or something. So in such a case, what will happen? They will have a standard pouches, metallized pouches with a single color, but that pouch will be packed in a cardboard boxes where they can easily print. And because these pouches, that cardboard will have the rigidity, it can be stay in the shelves for in a show purpose. So in such a case, they will combine different packaging materials also for that unique pack of that spice products. And another thing, some of the technology, if you see, one is that vacuum packaging technology. So particularly when you see this type of red chilies, so it is packed in a vacuum packaging method. So here what will happen, once you completely remove the air, so automatically what will happen, that any that insects or any microbes, okay, so in the absence of that air, it can be survive. So that can be controlled. And another thing, what will happen, that normally you know that the bulk density of that chili, it is very, very low. So it will occupy larger volume. So when we transport chili from one country to another country, you need a bigger container. So that itself will add on the transportation cost. But the same chili, when we use this type of vacuum packaging machine, what will happen? You can reduce that volume of that chili up to 50% to 60% volume. You can reduce it. So in such a case, what will happen? Your packaging material also will be getting reduced, because bigger volume will occupy bigger packaging material volume. So you can use lesser packaging material, and apart from that, you can avoid that transportation cost also by making these things. And under this PMFME scheme, you can buy such a double-end vacuum packaging machine. That cost of the vacuum packaging machine is about 8 lakhs to 12 lakhs. So definitely you can buy you can start some pack house. So you can buy the raw material from the farmer surveys, that farmer producer organization. You can do some of the preliminary and secondary operations like cleaning, grading, all these things, and directly you can use this technology, packing and selling the raw product to the market. So that is also one of the options. So here the capacity, it is available, for example, 10 kg, 15 kg. By changing that different disc die they will give, by changing it, you can have different size of that package. And another thing, as I told you, that ginger garlic paste. So that paste material nowadays more demand for this type of product, because the ready to eat, ready to cook product in the Indian market itself, if you see, we are having more than $150 billion investment in this ready to eat, ready to cook product. So every day the people, they need a product such easy to handle, easy to cook. So many industries now, they are coming in this type of product development. So in such a case, whenever you go for this type of finished product, because when you keep the ginger, it can be stayed in the fridge for 15 days, 20 days also. Okay. But if you do some vacuum packaging and keep it in a cold storage, it can be stayed for even 3 months also, you can keep it. But once you convert into paste, so what will happen? It can be easily affected by so many parameters. So here, what will happen whenever we select this type of product? So that pouch material, it should have a very good strength, and also it should have very low permeability for that moisture and that gases. Normally, if you see this type of pouches, it has that water vapor permeability less than 20 gram per meter square per day. And also if you see that oxygen permeability or carbon dioxide permeability, it will be less than 70 or 80 cc per meter square per day. So in such a case, this type of materials, when you select it, okay, even there are ready-made materials are also available. But before that, if you want to test this packaging material which will satisfy our requirement, then you can approach any of the testing institute in our country or nearby your production center. So they will test the samples and they will also recommend. Even here, I want to tell you, in IIPT also we have that testing facilities. Any of the entrepreneur, they want to test your packaging material, so you can send your samples also. We can test and we can certify that packaging material. So here for this type of paste material, we are using this stand-up pouches, spout pouches. Okay, so with the knob, that is spout pouches are there, glass bottles are there, plastic containers are there, foamed materials are there. Even if you see nowadays, like our ointment, the tubes are also which is coming. Either it can be a metal tube, otherwise it can be a laminated plastic tube. So these are also coming in the market. So this type of product which will occupy lesser space, more concentrated form which will be packed, so that it can be it can come for the services even 1 month, 2 months also you can use it. So that will reduce your time in the kitchen also. So these are all the techniques also available. So you can approach any processing center where they can process such a product, and you can select the packaging material for these things. So here, that paste material, when we want to fill it into the pouches, you can use this type of pneumatic filling machine. It is also available by manual method or pedal operated method. The cost of these machines are about 2.5 lakhs, 3.5 lakhs according to the capacity. So by changing that pneumatic that piston value, okay, for example, you can fill 250 gram, 500 gram or 1 kg. With the same machine you can fill it with a different level. So by selecting the stand-up pouches, by using this machine itself, you can prepare one that paste, what is that, the ginger paste or garlic paste processing center. And apart from that, after filling in the pouches, so then we have to seal the packaging material. So there you can use, either it can be an induction sealing or that pan sealer, it is available. So the cost of this machine also, it is about 45,000, or if it is a bigger capacity with a nitrogen flushing gas, then it can go up to 1.25 lakhs. So like this type of machine, even if you buy 1 or 2 machines, so that you can increase the capacity in your plant also. And apart from that, if you want to pack it, how to say, like our small sachet, then you can go for this type of that form fill sealing machine. So this type of machines which can produce per minute 30 packets, okay, per minute 30 packets. So industry, if you produce per day 100 kg of that ginger paste or garlic paste, you think of filling some 20 gram or 30 gram, a small packet. So you can run your industry own with the PMFM scheme. So this type of things, and apart from that, spout packing filling machine also available. And another thing, if you take that ground powdered material, so we have dried material and powdered material. For this dried material, you can select that form fill sealing machine with the cup filling method, and for this powdered material, you can select that form fill sealing machine with the auger type of delivery systems. So that is also available. And apart from that, there are small scale sealing machines. For example, self-help group, somebody they want to start it, you can use these file sealing machines or induction sealing machines. Otherwise, some of the labeling machine, continuous labeling machine. Otherwise, if you are selecting a glass bottle, then you can use this lug jar or city jar. So this type of packaging materials it is available. Whenever you go for that glass bottles, normally it is inert material which will not be easily readily react with your food items. It can be stayed for longer, but only the issue is weight of the glass container will be higher, and also mishandling which will cause us breakdown of your material. And another product you can see that value added product which will be called that essential oil, or that oleoresins. So in such a case, when you want to pack some of the essential oil, normally they may have that plastic containers or that metal containers or glass bottles. So in metal containers, that aluminum cans are used, and similarly, if you see that plastic container, that HDPE or polyethylene terephthalate, these containers are used. And similarly for that paste material, you can select this combination of BOPP, biaxially oriented polypropylene with LDPE, otherwise metallized pouch with 3 layers are there. So according to the usage, otherwise, for example, some people they will add more aroma, even ginger paste when they prepare. Some people will add oil into it. Okay, so your product can be spoiled by, as I told you, many factors. So whenever you are adding more recipes, more opening to the microbes, whenever you are giving the option, then you have to go for multi-layers. Okay, so that is very, very important. And considering that FSSI regulation, whenever you start that industry and you want to sell the product to our Indian market, So you have to refer that FSSAI guidelines. For this is not only for the packaging material and also for the product development also, that FSSAI has given that is started, as Sanjay sir also given some of the slides how that FSSAI guidelines should be followed. So here if you see in FSSAI website, if you enter there, you can see that food product standard. This will be the Act regulation. So here if you see that regulation 2.9, here you can see that salt, spices, condiments and related product. When you want to develop some chili masala powder or ginger paste or any other product based on the spices, so they given some of the regulations. You got it now. What will be that particle size? What will be that preservatives? What will be that pesticide level? Okay, all these things they have given. So that you have to follow it. And another thing, if you go to that labeling, okay, for the labeling of the product also they have given some around 14 list. So these are all the things it has to be mentioned in your label, starting from the name of the product, okay, batch number, MRP price, nutritional value, what is the preservatives levels you added, any food allergens are there, license number, all these things it has been given. Even how to get this license, FSSAI license, 2 days before we have conducted that another program also. So if you see that video even from Calcutta, our FSSAI managing director has given the talk how to get the FSSAI license, how to get the registration. So you follow those instructions, definitely you can get it. So it is very simple only, in your online mode only you have to apply. So in such a case you can refer those things. So these are all the things you have to follow for the FSSAI. And apart from that, APIDA website, if you enter to that APIDA website, they given the export standards for different spice products. Okay, even they have given that Canadian standards, American standard, European standard, Arab country standards. Okay, so all these things they have given. So just if you download the document, only they given what will be the pesticide level should be there, what are all the things should not be added, what will be that the final product composition. So those details they have given. So in such a case, when you see these documents, accordingly you can match your product preparations as well as the packaging standards, and directly you can sell it into the export market also. So that is another thing. And also if you see that ND unit, for example, so far we have seen that unit pack or consumer pack. So whenever you want to transport that bulk product from one state to another state, or it's one country to another country, so you need additional packaging equipment also. One is that case erectors, where it can open the cotton boxes and it can form like a opened shape. So there you can fill your product. So after filling by using that case sealer, that sealing can be done. And after that, when we pass through that sleeve wrapping machine, so outer it can be covered with a plastic cover by using a shrink wrapping, so that it can create a moisture proof. So by using some palletizing equipment robotic system, so in a storage godown you can properly rack it. Otherwise, if you have that pellets, over that pellet you can keep the product for the transit purpose. So far we have seen some of the packaging. So 1 or 2 slides we want to touch that godown, warehouse, that storage area also. So normally if you see that storage area, one is that selection of that locations. It should be easily accessible for all the transportation, and also that land and water, all these things you can test it before constructing that warehouse in that particular area. And another thing, if you see the designing aspects, so that particularly land and building, management of the staffs, those who are all working and in the storage area, equipment, okay, either it can be for the lifting purpose, otherwise it can be used in the packing or palletizing purpose. So that equipment selections, what will be the capacity of that your plant, that has to be selected. And also now you can see that computer and software. Nowadays that e-commerce are coming, particularly even if you can see in the pandemic period, virtual meetings are more. So in such a case, many people, they want to sell it in the e-commerce portal. So in such a case, you can sell your product by showing your product quality from your location to the any exporters. They can accept it. So in such a case, it should have very good software and hardware system, and operating methods and procedures. Okay, that SOP for that warehouse maintenance, that has to be strictly followed. Either you can go for some HACCP license or that ISO standard license, so that you can regularly monitor that quality as well as maintain the storage warehouses. And functions for that warehouses, you can see receipts are the items. So these are all the things you can get it. Those who are running that industry, you can see that latest advancement what you can introduce into that warehouse for increasing that productivity. So in such a case, receipts of the items, sorting that same property, okay, properly dispatching the product as per the requirement, preparing the related document, maintaining the records of transactions. So all these things are very, very important functions when you run a bigger warehouses. And here you can see that receipt of the items whenever you get the raw materials, okay, from the farmer producer organization, otherwise from the any sources. So before storing into that storage godown, you must check the properties of that raw materials. So according to that the inspections only you can judge the quality, so that you can preserve the already stored product. Otherwise, any cross contamination happens, so automatically your entire storage godowns which will lose the quality of the product. So that is very, very important. Similarly, when you sell the product, okay, so that time also in the output center you have to check the quality product, so that consumer satisfaction also which can be done. So in the storage godown they are having that normal stacking, otherwise that honeycomb stacking. So this honeycomb stacking will have that aerations. Okay, so normally sometimes the people will have that fumigation in the same storage godown. So what will happen? It needs some aeration. So in such a case, that honeycomb structures it can be used, and also for easy handling, taking the product from the storage structures. So that also will be used. Otherwise, that normal stacking carton boxes. So that can be followed. And similarly, you can follow first in, first out. Okay, that is the one process they will follow it. Otherwise, oldest pack, it has to be sold first. So these two techniques, they will use it for particularly in the storage godown, so that you can maintain that quality, avoid that cross contamination. And apart from that pellets, so whenever you use this type of finished product, either it can be stored in a bulk for using a gunny bag or wound bag. So atmospheric moisture, otherwise that ground moisture, once it is attracted, so that will cause a spoilage to the product. So whenever you have the chance to use that pallets, so you can use that wooden pallets. So here it is available two-way, three-way, otherwise four-way pallets are available according to that vehicles. So what you are using in that warehouse, so those things you can select. So that will save. So here I can show you one of that the godown example, how that typical godowns or storage godowns are available in our country. So it should not be like that. So there are more dusts are there, cracks are there in that walls. So automatically what will happen? It will support the insects to grow more and more. So even if you keep some good product, after sometimes it will be affected by the insects. So your market value which will be decreased. So in such a case, that as I told you that previous one, that storage godown, how to the clean SOPs, all these things you have to follow it for your warehouse maintenance. So and another thing, IAPT has technology, for example, online moisture sensor. For example, before your chili raw materials or finished product, before entering to that storage godown, you can check that moisture content. So if it is beyond that moisture content, you can take it to the again processing center. You can dry it, and again you can attaining a record moisture, you can bring down to the storage. So that what will happen? That moisture cross contamination can be minimized. So this is the things. Semi-automatic moisture sensor device, conveyor devices are there. So it will sense and it can recommend either it can be suitable for storage or for further processing. And another thing, if you see, many people normally they will use that aluminum phosphate, particularly for controlling that insects in the storage godown. There are other options also. It is available. For example, this sulfuride, fluoride, high intensity carbon dioxide, carbonyl sulfide, ozone is there, ethyl formate, hydrogen cyanide. These are all the things mainly they are using. But in our country, it is very popular. It is the aluminum phosphate tablet. They are using it. So that 3 tablets, each one will have that 3 grams, 9 grams tablets. they are using it for storing that 1 ton of that commodity. So in such a case, nowadays the people they are using that green technology, ozone fumigation also it is coming. So wherever you have that options, okay, that where you are getting a chance to use that green technology. So this ozone fumigation systems are also used, even for example washing of your any product, okay. So that ginger or the turmeric, for example that raw ginger, something you want to wash with the uh, water, you can use this ozonized water. So apart from that removal of that dirt and other thing, they can control that microbial growth in the surfaces also. So if you select this type of machineries, that cost will be about 7 lakhs or 10 lakhs only, because what we have, it is 10 grams per hour the ozone generation, that cost is about 4 lakhs. If you go for some 25 grams per hour or 50 grams per hour, that can be used for the industry for washing of that raw gingers. So in such a case, it can be fit into our under PMFME scheme. And also there are many insects can be killed by these ozone gases. Even that ozone gases, the life period will be 20 minutes only. So before that 20 minutes, we can pass through the different chamber, and finally we can release to the environment. Again, it will be converted as a oxygen only, so that you can use it. Even we tried, even if you run the system for 24 hours, the current consumption may be 10 rupees or 15 rupees only. But in this 15 rupees, you can spend, you can treat some 250 kg or 500 kg of the spices. So hardly if you calculate the cost economics, you will spend for 1 kg of the rhizomes, particularly 25 paisa or 40 paisa only. So that operating cost also which will be less, and also it can be seen as a green technology. So that also there you can consider. And another thing, nowadays it is coming RFID treatment system. So that Lakshmi industry, it is in Coimbatore. So they have sponsored one of that equipment for testing in our institute, and we tested and we validated, and it is also working very well for controlling the insects. So after even in a gunny bag, after filling the spices, if it is having the insects, just if you pass through this RF sterilizer, what will happen? The insects will die because of the heat generation inside the chamber. It will be dried, and when that heat can be also, it can be easily dissipated when it is coming out from the chamber. You can have that coolant here. So automatically what will happen, that sudden cooling which will remove all the heat. So you can do the dual function, you can control the insects in a shorter period, and also you can maintain the quality of the product. So that is also available. So these are all the things you can follow. So there are a lot of opportunity for the entrepreneurs to have to start the industry using that spices. So this is some of the guidelines only, and it is not one end solution. So there will be many steps are also available. So whenever you have doubt, you can contact us. We will support you. I take this opportunity to thank our directors and that PMFME team for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an elaborative presentation. Moving ahead to the next technical talk, we have with us Ms. Tonisha Dixit, who will provide us the insights on the detailed project report preparation on spices processing. We welcome you. Kindly share your screen.
Thank you so much, Silky. Good afternoon, everyone. So the session is I'll be taking for detailed project report for spice processing. In particular, I've taken the commodity that is turmeric processing, for referring to various calculations and various assumptions that we will be discussing in this particular discussion. So basically, what is a DPR? So I'll quickly go through it. So it is a fundamental document that is required by any startup or any business, maybe a new one or an existing one, that is required to be submitted to the financial authorities or the investors or the partners who are going to be with you to the future association. So this is a document that assesses the strength of a business and provide a clarity on proposed projections, on the plans of the promoter, and what exactly has been decided or what exactly has been drafted in the form of a report. So this is generally a document which has been asked by the various banks, venture capital firms, or we can in general say the investors, because while investing, they want to assess the risk associated and understand how much capital can be provided to the new businesses. To the promoter, it gives two major benefits for preparation of this DPR. So that's why every promoter should prepare a DPR. The first one is you are putting everything, what you are planning, what your ideas is on the table, and you are working on it so that you understand that while projecting them, you understand that how much money you are going to put in and how you are going to use it or where is the gap. All those things is all clear at the very initial stage of it. So you assess the risk associated with starting up that business, and in parallel you are also you know your risk appetite. So based on that you can compare both things and can finally decide on. The second thing, it tells the projections. So the very important concept is the break-even point, which gives you the understanding of by what time your business will start providing the revenue for running on its own. So that is very important. So this feasibility, viability are the two terms that are most commonly used while preparation, while doing the pitching of the DPR or the business projects. So the project should be viable. That means anybody can start it, and it should be having the viability, as in it's not a loss-making business. It should produce some revenue, and that too for a longer period. Not so. What I mean by viability is, for example, seasonal businesses themselves. You cannot put all your money into a business which runs only for 2 months or 3 months in a year. So there, the viability goes down. So that's what I'm talking about viability. And the feasibility is associated with the strength or the SWOT analysis of the promoter. So the promoter is having a certain risk appetite, a certain amount of strength, technical, financial, say any skills. So as per that, the kind of business that you are proposing, so how what we can say, it is matching with the set of strengths that you have. So there the feasibility is assessed across market feasibility, technical feasibility, and financial feasibility. So right now we are discussing about the turmeric for the processing unit. I've just taken the basic assumptions for understanding the process of preparation of DPR, and to understand what are the critical assumptions that should be taken up by the promoter only. And you cannot take from anywhere else. The data is available across multiple places, but these assumptions are to be taken by the promoter only because these are very specific to that. So, the spices processing or the turmeric processing is really an attractive option. It has got a very good potential. And as per our payment scheme, it has been as per the ODOPs of the payment scheme. So, these are the major clusters that you can see where the beneficiaries or the promoters who are in these places should or can look at this processing unit as a viable unit. It increases the viability of that project because already surplus raw material is available in these locations. So that's why these are called ideal locations. So there are some basic assumptions which for preparation of DPR are taken. So starting from the maximum installed capacity. So you can fix a number like how much tons. You can start with the kg. How much kg per day the production will be there, or how much annually you will produce. So this is the maximum capacity. The maximum capacity will be reached by the promoter or the business maybe after 4 years, not at the very first year or the second year. So, seeing to the market demand, seeing to the consumption pattern, seeing to all the market dynamics, the capacities can be gradually increased. So, the maximum installed capacity is to be decided. VAB is there 120 tons per annum. Then, for attaining sustainability or making the unit sustainable, the unit is assumed to operate at least for 300 tons, 300 days per annum. So this can again change with the product that you are deciding, the perishable nature of the product. So all these will decide, like for example, dairy products are there, so they run 365 days per annum because it's a daily consumption and daily it has got that much shelf life and it is very perishable in nature. So the daily consumption pattern is there. So based on the consumption pattern and the perishability and the order cycle, consumption cycle, this days can be decided. So for normal food products, you can decide between 250 days to 300 days. But less than that will not be feasible because then it will reduce the sustainability of the business and it will take more time to achieve the break even. For a new unit, if we assume, the first year is generally presumed to be the construction or the expansion period. If not first year, if you are already prepared with the land and building, then you can at least assume 6 months to be the construction and expansion period. And then maybe by the end of 6 months or 1 year, you can start the commercialization of the actual sales of the product. So from the second year, as per the product and as per the market demand, you can start from maybe 60% or 70%, but not below that. Because if you are again here, if you are having capacity utilization of less than 50% or 50%, that means half of the investment is lying idle. So why to invest such a high amount when only 50% of it is being utilized in the first or second year? Then better to reduce the capacity so that your total project cost will also come down. So that's why whatever you decide the entire maximum installed capacity, that plays a very major role because by the second year, you should at least start using or utilizing 60 to 70% of the capacity. So this reverse calculation will be there. Another assumptions will be the prices of raw material and the average sales prices. Here we are assuming for the raw material. So these are the basic components of the NPR, starting from project at a glance. The real requirement of having a project at a glance is with the starting first page of your DPR, it will act as an executive summary to the investor. You will understand what is the exact strength or what is the key strength areas of your project and what all you are proposing and how much is your contribution, how much you are, so means of finance and all those things. So everything will come to the glance. So this is the project at a glance. So you are proposing here the type of the project also, the partnership. So this will give the idea that how many people are involved. So shareholding patterns, for example, partnership is at least 2 partners will be having some equity in the company. It is a private limited, then maybe more partners in it. And proprietor means you are the only proprietor. That means you need to have other means of finances. So this will give some idea. Then propose project capacity, raw materials and the product outputs. Some places key activities are also mentioned. What are the key activities that the business is going to have to understand how much level of commercial production is there, and the total project cost and its bifurcation. Generally, land component is not considered under the total project cost, but different schemes and different banks have different rules for that. Here we are having this for the expansion of the existing built-up area. We are assuming that the land is already available with the promoter, and here he is only doing the minor civil work or minor small building upgradation and some land development. So that's why only 2 lakhs has been kept. Then machinery and equipment. The basic machinery which is required that has to be indicated. Then the utilities will involve power, water. In some products, steel is also required. So all these are the utilities. Then miscellaneous fixed assets. Now with the machinery equipment comes certain other auxiliary equipments we can say or auxiliary fixtures which are also to be bought. So that you might not know at the initial stage exactly. And so the miscellaneous fixed assets will involve some fixtures and some auxiliary equipments that are to be placed with the main machinery and equipment. In the initial stage, the promoter you might not know what are the exact fixtures to be used. So, 2 lakh amount has been kept for that, for meeting those requirements. Then there will be pre-operative expenses. The pre-operative expenses generally is also as preliminary and pre-operative expenses. It is basically before starting the business or before expanding your business, there might be some preliminary expenses required, like registration, like licensing, like all those things. So all these will be there. So such preliminary and pre-operative expenses are to be taken care at the very initial stage. So these may range from 25,000 to 50,000 or 1 lakh, depending on the type of licensing required, type of the uh, various other necessary, let's say, compliances required. So all these can be taken care by the pre-operative expenses. Then contingency is kept so that the way when you start investing in your business, that time you don't fall short of funds. So you are here proposing, for example, 35.9 lakhs. So then you should not fall short of an additional loan. You cannot have that like I am falling short of another 5 lakh rupees and I could not buy another equipment because of the change in the price of the equipment and all these things. So some contingency you should do, seeing to some economic changes might be there, some trading regulations change might be there, and there can be some change in the pricing of the equipment, pricing of the utilities. So some minor contingency can be kept in. And finally, the working capital margin. So this working capital margin is the recurring cost. All above heads were the one-time cost to be invested, and the last is the recurring cost that will involve the expenses towards raw material, packaging material. Then, for example, turmeric is there. So there is a holding period at every stage. So for these period, your raw material is held. So your raw material means in terms of money, it has been held for 3 days at some place, 3 days at another place. So it is taking, you are not able to sell it. Your money is in terms of raw material being held. So that's why it has to be calculated. So all these will comprise of the working capital margin. I'll show you in detail how it is calculated. Similarly, it will be projected for second, third, and fourth year as well. Then comes the means of finance. Here, this was what I was talking about. Like, if you're a partner, that means they can ask for, like, you are 2 promoters, so this much you should provide, or the bank may ask for the questions. If you are sole proprietor, that means, okay, how much you are telling promoters' contribution, that can be compared with the type of proposed project. Here, under the PMFME scheme, maximum capping is of 10 lakh rupees. You might have heard in the introduction to the PMFME as well. So, maximum subsidy is up to 10 lakh rupees, and remaining amount can be provided as a term loan. Further, the debt equity ratio is calculated. So, how much loan has been taken and how much is the equity or your stake in the total investment. That ratio is also provided to the banks, and these are the further other ratios that are calculated, and this is the payback period. So your capacity, your decision on the complete capacity and all those things will show an impact on by what time you will be able to pay back this investment. So this is the payback period for the investment. After that comes the detailing of the capital investment. So your machineries and equipments, they will involve the major equipment which you can think of while preparing a flow chart. So these are the main equipments. There will be definitely auxiliary equipments, pumps, motors, and all those things. Some might, if you are buying some turnkey equipments, then some of the accessories will come with them. So the pricing will change. If you are buying only standalone equipments, then only smaller basic minimum required accessories will come, and rest you will have to buy pipelines and all those things. So it depends on what quotations you are asking, and as per that, so it is suggested that you put all these costs as per the quotations only. Because if you simply Google some cost of machine and then you put it it's not advisable to use it like that, because you might not know what type of machinery you will receive and what additional accessories will be there with that, and then its cost will definitely change. So that will then change your entire project cost. So it's better to have some 2-3 quotations from nearby or the regional level machinery suppliers, and then it will give you a clear idea of, and additionally it will give you a clear idea about the area required also, because you are going to finally ask for what how much area will be there, and that is available with you, and the power requirement for the utility calculation. So better to go for quotations, will easy calculation and credibility of the information. This is the working capital requirement calculation that I was talking about. So the working capital requirement involves raw material stock. So now this period is to be assumed by the promoter. This period is the basis, basically on the basis of the product that you are selecting. So if the product is perishable in nature, this period will definitely reduce. If the perishability is not a problem, or your final product is in such a packaging that the finished goods stock can stay for a larger number of days, so then you have to decide how much days inventory you are going to keep. So that is another concept of reorder cycle and order cycle. So every product has got a order cycle. So in 15 days you will get your next order. If it is B2B, you might get bulk orders. So your order cycle will change. If it is a customer B2C, business to customer model, that means you are going to have the order cycle as per the retailers that are telling you that how by how many days they require these products. For example, weekly they want, or every second or third day, depending on the shelf life, depending on the demand, market demand. So this period can be assumed. So these are the heads: raw material stock, work in progress. So this means your raw material is held with you for different processing. That can be machinery processing, that can be, so in case of turmeric, it is for example, 3 days curing you are doing, 3 days post harvesting, some primary processing you are doing. So all these things will come in work in progress. Till the time, the time will be till it reaches to the final finished goods inventory. Because now after that you are assuming it in the finished goods stock. So once it was in the store, that was in raw material stock, it entered your machineries from the primary processing to the sellable condition, that is work in progress. And once it is in sellable condition, from there the period will be counted in the finished goods stock till it is being supplied to either the retailer, wholesaler, based on your business model. Then comes the packing material cost also. So this also how much, because this inventory you are also going to keep raw materials. So generally this packing material inventory is large, because there is no question of perishability and all. Then the receivables. Receivables involve that there is a cycle. Like for example, you have sold on 1st September to a company or a B2B wholesale. Then he might pay you in the terms which you have agreed upon, mutually agreed upon. He might pay you in 7 days. He might take a credit of some days. So what is the credit? Similarly, you also have raw material suppliers. So you are going to pay them. So that also is a term which is being mutually decided, the credit term which is being mutually decided by the supplier and your company. So both these things, some amount of cash or money is being held by both the places. So that also, that will come under the receivables component. The total will be calculated as number of days. So this is all the places where your money will be, you can say, held. So that has to be calculated. Why? What is the importance of calculating working capital is? Majority of the issues with either failure, or we can say failure is a very big word, but we can say issues faced by the businesses are the cash crunch, due to which some businesses have to shut down, some businesses have to pivot. All these other options are to be uh, looked out for. The major reason is generally the cash crunch. Now, businesses at the later stage, you don't understand where this cash crunch came from, because this period assumption was not accurate, or maybe it was not at all calculated. That's why a huge amount of money was being held in this under these heads, and this is a realistic scenario. So this was not at all calculated in the planning stage. So that's why a lot of money gets held in under these heads. So this is the reason for the cash crunch. So this amounts to total current assets. So this is current, not the capital assets, current assets. Then trade creditors will come in the running business. So this will be your working capital gap or working capital margin. And now this is the total working capital, out of which 25% is generally taken under the total project cost, and it depends further on the basis of which skill we are applying or which bank we are applying. So 25% can be used other scheme, or 25% can be used as the margin level. And the final one is the financial feasibility. That is, I have shown the heads. That is, total installed capacity is 120 metric ton per year, out of which the capacity utilization will be year-wise. So the expenditure will be on the basis of various heads, that is in raw material, packaging material, salaries and all those things. These are the expenses to be reduced, and to be reduced from the total sales. So the sales, all these figures will be in terms of rupees. So here you will get the total sales. So you will then arrive to the profit before depreciation, interest and tax. So how you will arrive at this figure? This will be D minus total expenditure, C. Total sales revenue minus total expenditure. Then comes all the depreciation. So depreciation will come for the civil works, machinery and all those things. And then the interest is also reduced. So the profit after depreciation and interest is calculated, tax is reduced. So finally you will come with the net profit. This is the gross profit, this is the net profit. And then the calculations, the ratios can be calculated. Payback period can be. So this is the basic of the components of DPR. So that's all from my side.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such an informative session.